12,000 years ago, the world didn't just warm up. It woke up. Ice miles thick vanished. Sea levels rose. Entire animals disappeared. And humans, they went from just surviving to changing everything. But what actually happened when the Ice Age finally ended? Tonight, we're slowing things way down to gently explore the science behind one of Earth's biggest turning points. If this calm science story is helping you unwind, feel free to subscribe to Science Fiction Stories for Sleep for new episodes every day. And if you're still listening right now, just type yes in the comments. Now, get comfortable and let's drift back to the end of a last ice age. 12,000 years ago, the world felt quiet in a way we can barely imagine now. Not quiet like a late night in the suburbs. Not quiet like a snowfall outside your window. This was a deep, ancient quiet, a quiet made of ice. Across much of North America, Europe, and Asia, massive glaciers covered the land like frozen oceans. Some were more than a mile thick. They pressed down on the earth so heavily that the ground itself slowly sank beneath their weight. If you were standing where Chicago is today, you wouldn't see a city. You wouldn't see trees. You wouldn't even see soil. You'd be standing on solid ice, stretching endlessly in every direction, shimmering pale blue beneath a cold, distant sun. The air was sharper back then, cleaner, thinner. Every breath felt dry and biting, especially during the long winters that seemed to stretch on forever. Summer existed, but it was short and shy, never staying long enough to melt much of anything. This period is known as the last ice age, or more precisely, the last glacial maximum. And for tens of thousands of years, this frozen world was just normal. Life adapted. Woolly mammoths lumbered across frozen plains, their thick fur swaying with each step. Saber-toothed cats moved quietly through snowy grasslands, muscles coiled beneath their hides. Giant ground sloughs, as tall as modern elephants, wandered slowly, leaving deep footprints in the frozen soil. And humans were there too. They were small in number, scattered in bands that moved with the seasons. They followed herds, gathered what plants they could, and learned the landscape in an intimate way. Survival wasn't about comfort. It was about awareness. Every sound mattered. Every change in the wind mattered. Every shift in temperature mattered. Because the Ice Age was unforgiving. But something began to change. At first, it was so subtle that no one noticed. The sun seemed just a little warmer during certain summers. Snow that usually lingered well into the season began melting a few days earlier. Rivers formed where ice had once ruled, thin at first, then slowly growing stronger. The earth was warming, not suddenly, not dramatically, but steadily. This warming marked the beginning of a new chapter, one scientists would later call the end of the Ice Age. And while it may sound simple, ice melts, temperatures rise, the reality was far more complex. Deep beneath the ice sheets, the land began to respond. As glaciers thinned and retreated, the crushed ground underneath slowly lifted, like a mattress rising once a heavy weight is removed. This process, known as isostatic rebound, is still happening today in places like Canada and Scandinavia. But 12,000 years ago, it was just beginning. Glaciers didn't disappear overnight. They groaned and cracked. They crept backward, inch by inch, year by year. Massive walls of ice collapsed into meltwater lakes, sending echoes across the frozen landscape. And those lakes, they didn't always stay calm. In North America, enormous bodies of water formed at the edges of retreating ice sheets. One of the largest was Lake Agassiz, a freshwater lake so vast it would have dwarfed all of today's Great Lakes combined. Held in place by ice dams, Lake Agassiz was unstable. When those ice walls weakened, the water didn't politely drain away. It rushed. Catastrophic floods surged across the land, carving valleys, reshaping rivers, and pouring fresh water into the oceans. Some scientists believe these sudden releases of meltwater disrupted ocean currents, briefly cooling parts of the planet even as the overall trend remained warmer. The end of the Ice Age wasn't a smooth transition. It was messy, uneven, full of surprises. For animals adapted to cold, this warming world was dangerous. Woolly mammoths struggled as their grassy tundra turned into forests and wetlands. Their massive bodies, perfect for cold climates, overheated more easily. Food sources changed. Migration routes disappeared. One by one, many of the Ice Age giants faded from the Earth. Not all at once, not for one single reason. Climate change played a major role. Human hunting may have added pressure. Ecosystems shifted faster than some species could adapt. Extinction, in this case, wasn't dramatic. It was quiet. A herd that never returned. Tracks that stopped appearing in the snow. Bones left behind, slowly buried by time. Humans, however, were adapting. As ice retreated, new land opened up, land rich with plants, animals, and opportunity. Rivers provided fresh water and fish. Forests offered wood, shelter, and game. For the first time, some human groups began to settle in one place for longer periods. Not full cities, not farms just yet, but camps that lasted seasons instead of days. They learned the rhythms of this changing world. When berries ripened, when animals migrated, when floods came and receded, knowledge became survival. And as the climate stabilized into what we now call the Holocene epoch, humans found themselves living in a world that was warmer, wetter, and more predictable than ever before. This predictability changed everything. Plants could be tended, seeds could be saved, animals could be watched, studied, even guided. The end of the Ice Age didn't just reshape the land, it reshaped the human mind. People began to think further ahead, not just about the next hunt, but the next season. Not just about survival, but about improvement. This slow shift laid the foundation for agriculture, villagers, and eventually, civilization itself. But in this moment right here, at the edge of the melting ice, none of that was obvious yet. All anyone knew was that the world was changing. Ice that had always been there was gone. Rivers ran where no rivers had been before. Animals behaved differently. Weather patterns shifted. It must have felt unsettling and exciting and a little scary. Imagine standing at the edge of a glacier, watching water drip steadily from its face. Drop after drop, forming a stream. The sound is soft, almost calming, yet each drop is a signal. Ice that had always been there was gone. Rivers ran where no rivers had been before. Animals behaved differently. Weather patterns shifted. It must have felt unsettling and exciting and a little scary. Imagine standing at the edge of a glacier, watching water drip steadily from its face. Drop after drop, forming a stream. The sound is soft, almost calming, yet each drop is a signal. As the ice continued to melt, the water had to go somewhere. For thousands of years, enormous amounts of Earth's water had been locked away in glaciers and ice sheets. When those frozen giants began to shrink, the oceans slowly welcomed the water back. At first, the change was barely noticeable. Shorelines crept inward a little each year. Beaches shifted. Tides reached just a bit farther than before. To the people living at the edge of land and sea, it may have felt like a small inconvenience. A campsite flooded here, a familiar path washed away there. But over time, the rise added up. Sea levels climbed more than 400 feet globally as the Ice Age came to an end. That single fact reshaped the planet. Places that had once been dry land vanished beneath the waves. Vast coastal plains disappeared. Islands formed where hills once stood. Entire landscapes were slowly erased, not by violence, but by patience. One of the most famous lost lands is known as Beringia. During the height of the Ice Age, sea levels were so low that a wide land bridge connected Siberia to Alaska. Humans and animals crossed this bridge, moving between continents without ever seeing the ocean. But as the world warmed, Beringia flooded. The bridge sank beneath rising seas, closing the pathway behind those who had already crossed. The Americas became isolated once more, and the people living there would develop separately for thousands of years. Elsewhere, similar stories unfolded. What is now the North Sea was once a grassy plain called Doggerland, home to human communities, forests, and wildlife. As waters rose, Doggerland shrank, first into marshes, then into islands, and finally, into memory. For the people who lived there, the loss wasn't sudden, it was gradual. A hunting ground that became too wet to cross, a shoreline that moved closer each year, a favorite camp that slowly disappeared beneath salt water. Generations adapted, moved, and resettled. Stories may have been passed down, stories of land that once existed where the sea now ruled. And those stories linger. Some scientists believe ancient flood myths passed through cultures around the world, may echo these real experiences of rising seas at the end of the Ice Age. Not a single great flood all at once, but many floods over many lifetimes. As coastlines shifted, humans followed the water. Rivers, lakes, and oceans became highways of the ancient world. Fish were reliable. Shellfish were plentiful. Waterways made travel easier than crossing thick forests or rugged terrain. Living near water meant survival was a little more predictable, and predictability was valuable. Along these shores, people began experimenting, often without realizing it. They noticed certain plants grew better near their camps. They noticed animals returned to the same places year after year. They learned when fish migrated and when tides brought food close to land. Slowly, unintentionally, humans began shaping ecosystems. At the same time, the planet itself was settling into a new rhythm. The climate didn't just warm, it stabilized. Seasons became more consistent. Rain patterns shifted but held steady year to year. Forests expanded northward, replacing tundra. Grasslands stretched across continents, rich with life. This stability created something rare in human history: time to plan. With fewer constant emergencies, people could observe more, remember more, and teach more. Knowledge accumulated instead of resetting with every disaster. Communities grew. And with growth came new challenges: sharing resources, resolving conflict, caring for children and elders. Human society began to change as deeply as the land itself. But this warming world also held dangers. As ice melted rapidly in some regions, massive freshwater floods poured into the oceans. These sudden inputs disrupted currents like the Atlantic meridional overturning circulation, which helps regulate climate across the northern hemisphere. The result? Cold snaps, brief returns to near glacial conditions, even as the overall planet remained on a warming path. One of the most famous is known as the Younger Dryas, a period when temperatures dropped sharply for over 1,000 years. To the people living through it, this must have felt confusing. Just as the world seemed to be softening, winter came roaring back. Glaciers stopped retreating. Forests paused their advance. Animals shifted their ranges again. Humans adapted again. This resilience became one of humanity's greatest strengths. Each climatic swing taught new lessons. Each challenge refined skills, tools, and social bonds. When the cold finally loosened its grip once more, the transition into the Holocene resumed, and this time, it stayed. By now, many Ice Age animals were gone. Mammoths, mastodons, giant cats, fading into extinction. In their place came animals better suited for forests and warmer plains: deer, boar. Smaller game that required new hunting strategies. Humans responded with innovation, new tools, new weapons, new ways of working together. They weren't just surviving the world anymore. They were shaping it. Villagers began to appear in fertile regions, especially along river valleys. The Tigris and Euphrates, the Nile, the Indus, the Yellow River. These rivers owed their existence, in part, to Ice Age meltwater and post-glacial climate patterns. The end of the Ice Age quietly laid the groundwork for civilization. Yet for all its promise, this new world carried loss. Forests swallowed old hunting grounds. Rising seas erased ancestral lands. Species that had been companions for thousands of years vanished forever. Progress and grief walked side by side. As night fell over these early settlements, fires flickered beside rivers that had not existed a few thousand years earlier. People looked up at the same stars their ancestors had known, but from a completely different world. They were living in a planet reborn. A planet still adjusting, still settling, still full of change. And beneath the surface of that calm, another transformation was underway, one that would permanently link humans to the fate of the Earth itself. That story is what comes next. By the time the Ice Age fully loosened its grip, the Earth had become a different kind of place. Not gentle, not perfect, but balanced. The wild swings between extreme cold and brief warmth faded into something steadier. Seasons arrived, more or less, when expected. Winters were still cold, but survivable. Summers were warm enough for plants to grow reliably. For the first time in human history, the world felt dependable. And dependability changes behavior. When food sources repeat year after year, people stay longer. When land produces the same plants again and again, seeds become valuable. When animals follow predictable paths, observation turns into understanding. Somewhere along riverbanks and open plains, humans stopped only taking from nature and began participating in it. They planted seeds, not farms at first, just small patches, experiments, a few grains scattered near a camp, a plant protected from animals, a place revisited the next season to see what happened. What happened was quiet, but revolutionary. Those plants grew. And when people realized they could influence food itself, everything changed. This shift, known as the Neolithic Revolution, didn't happen overnight, and it didn't happen everywhere at once. It unfolded slowly, independently, across different parts of the world. In the Fertile Crescent, wheat and barley were cultivated. In China, rice and millet. In the Americas, maize, squash, and beans. All of it was made possible by the stable climate that followed the Ice Age. Agriculture anchored people to place. Villages grew. Homes became more permanent. Storage pits appeared, holding food for future seasons. Surplus meant survival through bad years, and time to think beyond survival. Time to create. Tools became more specialized. Art flourished. Spiritual beliefs deepened, often tied to land, seasons, and cycles of growth. Burials became more deliberate, suggesting ideas about memory, ancestry, and meaning. Humans were no longer just living in the world. They were reshaping it. Forests were cleared. Fields expanded. Animals were domesticated, not just hunted, but raised. Wolves slowly transformed into dogs, companions, rather than competitors. This new relationship with nature came with power and responsibility. As populations grew, so did the impact on the environment. Soil was exhausted in some places. Waterways were diverted. Landscapes were permanently altered. For the first time, human actions began leaving marks that would last generations. In a way, the end of the Ice Age marked the beginning of humans as a geological force capable of influencing ecosystems on a large scale. Yet even as humanity expanded, the Earth continued its own slow adjustments. Glaciers that once dominated continents retreated into mountain ranges. Greenland and Antarctica held onto massive ice sheets, reminders of the planet's colder past. Sea levels stabilized. Coastlines settled. Coral reefs formed in warm, shallow waters where Ice Age plains had once existed. Life exploded in diversity. Forests hummed with insects. Grasslands rippled with grazing animals. Wetlands teemed with birds and fish. The planet exhaled, but the memory of ice never fully disappeared. In some cultures, stories lingered, stories of frozen lands, of great floods, of ancestral journeys across now lost plains. Passed down through generations, these stories became myths, legends, and sacred histories. They were echoes of a world that no longer existed, but had shaped everything that followed. And in a strange way, the Ice Age never truly ended. Its legacy is still here. Every coastline, every fertile river valley, every mountain carved by glaciers. Even the climate system we depend on today was set in motion by the melting ice 12,000 years ago. The Holocene, the warm period we still live in, has been unusually stable compared to much of Earth's past. That stability allowed civilizations to rise, technologies to spread, and modern society to exist at all. But stability is never permanent. Today, humans are warming the planet once again, this time not through slow shifts in Earth's orbit or natural cycles, but through rapid changes driven by industry and energy use. In some ways, we are witnessing another great transition. Ice is melting, sea levels are rising, ecosystems are shifting. The difference is speed. The Ice Age ended over thousands of years. Today's changes are happening in decades, and yet the past still offers comfort, because humanity has faced change before. Our ancestors adapted to a transforming world, learning, adjusting, and surviving. They watched glaciers retreat. They followed rivers into new lands. They built lives in uncertainty. That resilience is still part of us. As you rest now, imagine the Earth as it was then, ice glittering under a pale sun, water slowly carving new paths, life quietly finding its way forward. The end of the Ice Age wasn't an ending at all. It was a beginning, a long, gentle turning of the page. And tonight, as the world outside settles into darkness, the planet continues its ancient rhythm, spinning calmly beneath the stars, carrying the memory of ice and the promise of what comes next. Take a slow breath. The story is still unfolding, and for now, you can rest.